Hi, everybody. It is Saturday, September 28th. Can you believe it? It feels like we just started the year yesterday. Now it's almost spooky season. But anyway, welcome to Alabama Game Day today. Short morning chat about the game coming up ahead tonight. And oh boy, is it expected to be a doozy. You got the number 4 Crimson Tide at home in Tuscaloosa to play the number 2 team and quite possibly the deadliest team in all of college football, the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia seeming very unstoppable unless they play Alabama, but that was with a Saban Alabama. Can DeBoer replicate that success, or will the mental hurdle that Georgia's had against Alabama no longer be there now that Saban's there? We're going to have to wait until around 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central to find out. Game on ABC and ESPN+. Weather looks to be quite well, cloudy skies, but very little chance of rain at 7%, with winds out of the west around 4 miles per hour and around 70 degrees. Perfect football weather, if you ask me. Betting odds for the game, Georgia is a 1.5 point favorite. Now, obviously, you cannot win by 1.5 points, but that's a generalized betting number. So if you think that Georgia would win the game by 2 points or more, you would take Georgia plus 1.5. I'm sorry, minus 1.5. Or if you think that Georgia would either win the game by less than 2 points or that Alabama would win the game, you would take Alabama at plus 1.5. Total points scored look to be 49 points. So obviously, if you're betting the game, you would take the over if you think that more than 49 points are going to be scored in the game. You would take the under if you think less than 49 points are going to be scored in the game. And the implied final score is looking to be 24-23 in favor of Georgia. So if you think Georgia's going to score more than 24 points, take the over. You think Georgia's going to score less, you take the under. If you think Alabama's going to score more than 23, you would take the over. If you think that Alabama's scoring less than 23, you would take the under. The importance of this game between Alabama and Georgia cannot be understated. This game has heavy SEC implications, with the winner more than likely going to the SEC title game, barring some weird fortunes, and the winner being in the driver's seat to get one of two things: either the first round bye, one of the first 4 seeds in the playoff, or one of the 5 or 8 seeds, home field advantage in the first round of the playoff. Whoop, my camera fell. Hold on. Okay, there we go. The winner of this game is in prime position for a playoffs. Now, the loser of this game, if your team loses this game, it's not necessarily over. In fact, the odds are both of these two teams are going to make the playoffs. But the loser of this game is going to have the much harder climb than the one who wins the game, because both Alabama and Georgia, after this game, will have 3 top 20 teams left to play on their schedule, with 2 of those top 20 teams being on the road. For Georgia, it is Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, with Texas and Ole Miss being on the road. For Alabama, it's Tennessee, Missouri, and LSU, with Tennessee and LSU being on the road. So the winner of the game would only have to win one of those 3 games in order to get into the playoff, whereas the loser would have to win 2 of those 3 games to get into the playoff. And the loser of the game, now we could very well see a situation where whoever loses this game, it's their only loss and the other team goes undefeated, or also only has 1 loss. And both of these two teams meet again in the SEC title game. And if that's the case, I think both of those two would be guaranteed a seat in the playoff. But the more likely scenario is that whoever wins this game goes to the SEC title game, and either Texas or Ole Miss is there, meaning that the other one would have basically had to have secured a playoff spot before the SEC title game in order to have a chance at the playoff. So basically, you got to win this game if you're Alabama or Georgia to feel better about your chances of getting in the playoff. Now, I know yesterday I put out a hype and hate video where I basically pointed out to Georgia's poor performance against Kentucky. Now, that could tell us a lot about Georgia, but the more likely happenstance is that we're going to see the best out of the two teams. We're probably not going to see the same Georgia that played against Kentucky, and we're not going to see the same Alabama that played against USF in that game. More likely, we're going to see the best version of these two teams. Can the best version of Alabama outperform the best version of Georgia? The crowd is going to be hyped up, but we've seen high-profile situations where home field advantage didn't really matter when you're playing a team like Georgia. So we're going to have to see how we can outperform Georgia, especially without the greatest of all time being there. Now, I want to end this video with a special message. We are all college football fans. Chances are, if you're watching this channel, you either love Alabama or you absolutely despise Alabama and want them to lose every game. I get that each of us have a team that we prefer to root for. However, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. Alabama plays Georgia tonight on that field at 7:30. However, Georgia and Florida just got hit by tremendous tragedy. Hurricane Helene swept through with tremendous winds, leaving both states in a mess. So even though we play Georgia tonight, remember, we are human beings. Pray for those in the states of Georgia and Florida who were affected by Hurricane Helene. And if you know somebody in one of those two states that was in the path, check in on them and make sure they're okay. We are all human beings, and especially if you're like me and you live on the Gulf Coast, you've experienced these a lot. You know that if you experience a major hurricane, you would not wish it on your worst enemy. So even if you can really only be a prayer for them, be that prayer. And obviously, if you can go help them, go help them. But at the very least, pray for them. And check in on them. That concludes this week's episode of Alabama Game Day Today. Be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. That way you can know when Roll Tide 99 uploads content. The next episode of Alabama Game Day today will be next Saturday, being that we play Vanderbilt. In the meantime, watch Hype and Hate if you haven't watched it already. And be on the lookout for videos at around halftime and at the end of the game. I'm Roll Tide 99, and I'll see you later. And as always, Roll Tide, baby.